Welcome to our channel, Drakshis Knowledge Tech. Here today we begin with the class ninth economics. That is, chapter is poverty as challenge. It is the unit 3, poverty as challenge. So questions has been given here. Describe how the poverty line is estimated in India. So answer is given here. A person is considered poor if he or she's income, if or she her, he or her income or consumption level falls below a given minimum level necessary to fulfill basic needs. Each country uses an imaginary line that is considered appropriate for its existing level of development and its accepted minimum social norms. This is called the poverty line. So, the second question is that much is the answer. Our second question: do you think that present methodology of the poverty estimation is appropriate? Answer is yeah. The present methodology of poverty estimation takes into account a minimum subsistential level of the living rather than a reasonable level of living. A person is considered poor if he or her income is or consumption level falls below a given minimum level necessary to fulfill basic needs, while ensuring the minimum necessary is in terms of income is indeed essential for India to bring a large section of its population out of the clutches of poverty. The government must also focus its attention upon the broader element of the human poverty. A future state may be achieved wherein everybody is able to feed himself or herself. However, in the continuing presence of factors like illiteracy, lack of job opportunities, lack of access to proper healthcare and sanitation, caste and gender discrimination, etc. Such a state cannot be called a poverty-free state. Now we come to the question number 3, that is, describe poverty trends in India since 1973. So, a decline. There has been a substantial decline in the poverty ratio in India from about 55% in 1973 to 36%. So here we can see 19% have been declined the poverty level in India in 2 decades, that is 20 years. So percent in 1993. The proportion of the people below poverty line further came down to about 26% in 2000. See again 7 years later, again it reduced to 26. So 10 more percent has been reduced in the one that is 7 years. Although the percentage of the people living in poverty declined from 1973 to 1993 and the number of the poor remained stable around 3 million, 320 million for a fairly long period. However, as per the latest estimates, the number of poor has shown a significant decline to about 260 million. See here, 100 million, maybe it is not 100. Here we get to 40, 120, 60 million of the people have been totally declined in poverty level. Then rural and urban poor. The poverty trends also indicate that the problem of the poverty is in a much bigger menace in the rural areas than it is in the urban areas, as the greater part of the Indian population resides where the residents are present in the villages. The greater number of the poor also resides in the villages. Vulnerable groups. So here we need to understand rather than writing the notes. Understand the notes. Looked at from the point of view of the various social and economic groups in the country. The scheduled tribe, the scheduled caste, that is SC, ST, the rural agricultural labor, and the urban casual labor turn out to be the groups most vulnerable to the poverty. Though the average for people below poverty line for all groups in India is 26. The average of these groups are higher than the average Indian poverty ratio. So poor states, the poverty trends also shows that through though there has been a decline in poverty in every state from the early 70s, the success rate of reducing poverty has varied from state to state. In 20 states and union territories, the poverty ratio is less than the national average of 26. There was 26%. In other, the poverty ratio are higher than the national average. Among these, Orissa and Bihar continues to be the two poorest states in with the poverty ratios of 47 and 43% respectively. On the other hand, states like Kerala, Gujarat, Punjab, and Jammu and Kashmir have shown a significant decline in poverty. That means the poor people have been declining in these said states. Now we come to the fourth question, that is discuss the major reasons for poverty in India. What are the reasons for people becoming poor in our country? So answer is major reasons for poverty in India. First one is colonial rule. India went through a long phase of low economic development under the British colonial administration. The policies of the colonial government ruined traditional handicraft and discouraged development of the industries like textiles. So India was in the hand of British that time. Then the second point comes here: low economic growth and high population growth. The Indian administration failure on the two fronts, that is promotion of the economic growth and population control. The cycle of the poverty perpetuated the cycle of the poverty. Then the third point comes the rural poverty, is the effect of agriculture and rural development were limited to only certain parts of the country. As a result, while some parts of the country showed great progress in the rural sectors, others continued in the shadow of poverty. The presence of huge income inequalities is a major reason for the high poverty rates in the rural areas. Then the government's failure to properly implement major policies initiatives to tackle the issue of income inequalities has contributed to the continuance of the poverty in village. Then comes the fourth one, that is the urban poverty. The jobs created by the industrial sector have not been enough to absorb all the job seekers. Unable to find proper jobs in cities, many people start working as rickshaw pullers, vendors, construction workers, domestic servants, etc. With regular small incomes, these people cannot afford expensive housing. In consequence, they start living in slums. Thus, poverty, that is a largely rural phenomenon, sometimes back, has become a dominant feature of urban India as well. Then the fifth feature is socio-cultural factor, that is various socio-cultural factors like caste and gender discrimination and social exclusion have contributed to the wider realm of the human poverty. Now the fifth question. Identify the social and economic groups which are most vulnerable to the poverty in India. Answer. The proportion of people below poverty line is not the same for all social groups and economic categories. In India, the social groups of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, that is SC, and the economic groups of the rural agricultural laborers and urban casual laborers are the ones most vulnerable to poverty. The poverty ratio for each of these groups are higher than the average Indian poverty ratio. Apart from these ratios, women, elderly people, and female infants are considered to be the poorest of the poor. Then we come to the sixth question. Give an account of interstate disparities in poverty in India. So answer: the proportion of poor is not the same in every state, though there has been a decline in poverty in every state from the early 70s. The success rate of the reducing poverty has varied from state to state. In 20 states and union territories, the poverty ratio is less than the national average of 26. In others, the poverty ratio are higher than the national average. Among these, Orissa and Bihar continue to be the two poorest states with poverty ratios of 47 and 43 respectively percent. Both the rural and urban poverty are quite high in these states. On the other hand, states like Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Kerala, Punjab, and Jammu and Kashmir and West Bengal have shown a significant decline in poverty. Public distribution of food grains, focus on human resource development, high agricultural development, and land reform measures are some of the factors responsible for the decline of the poverty in these states. Now, this is question number 7. Describe global poverty trends. So here the proportion of the people is developing in developing countries living on less than $1 per day has fallen from 28% in 1990s to 21%, that is 7% decline in 2001, that is 10 years. There has been a substantial reduction in global poverty since the 1980s. However, the reduction in poverty is marked with great regional differences due to rapid economic growth and massive investment in human resource development. Poverty declined substantially in China and South Asian countries. On the other hand, in South Asian countries, that is India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, the decline has now not been as rapid, while the ratio of the poverty in Latin America has remained the same. In sub-Saharan Africa, poverty has risen from 41% in 1981 to 46% in 2001. According to the World Development Report of 2001, countries like Nigeria, Bangladesh, and India still have a large percentage of the people living under the poverty. Poverty has also resurfaced in some of the former socialist countries like Russia, where officially it was not existent earlier. Now, the eighth question: describe current government strategy of poverty alleviation. Answer: the current anti-poverty strategy of the government has a two-lined approach: promotion of the economic growth and targeted anti-poverty programs. Then, economic growth widens opportunities and provides resources needed to invest in the human development, also so that the poor can take advantage of this economic growth. The government has formulated several anti-poverty schemes to affect poverty directly or indirectly. Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana, Rural Employment Generation Program, स्वर्ण जयंती ग्राम स्वरोजगार योजना, प्रधानमंत्री ग्राम उद्योग योजना, अंत्योदय अन्न योजना, and then National Food for Work Program, National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, and proposal for establishing national and state employment guarantee funds are some of the anti-poverty schemes of the government. However, despite the good attention of these schemes, the benefits have not fully reached the deserving poor. Hence, the major emphasis in recent years has been on proper monitoring of all the poverty alleviation programs. Now, the ninth answer. Answer the following question. Ninth main, that is briefly. What do you understand by human poverty? First one. Second one, who are the poorest of the poor? And third one, what are the main features of the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005? So in that, first answer is human poverty is a concept that goes beyond the limited view of poverty as lack of income. It refers to the denial of political, social, and economical opportunities to an individual to maintain a reasonable standard of living. Illiteracy, lack of job opportunities, lack of access to proper healthcare and even sanitation, then caste, gender, discrimination, etc. are all components of the human poverty. We come to the second point of view here. Second point, women, female, infants, and elderly people are the poorest of the poor. Within a poor family, such individuals suffer more than the others. They are systematically denied equal access to all the resources available to the family. Now, the third part of the answer is main features of the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, that is 2005. In that subdivisions, the Act, that is A, the Act assures 100 days employment every year to every household. B is initially covering 200 districts. The Act would be extended later on the cover 600 districts. Then third point is here, C is 1/3 of the jobs are reserved for women. So thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.